Welcome to this week's edition of Ignite News. I'm Elizabeth Chernachenko.
And I'm Alex Smythe. MoCast takes a weekly look at all the new, exciting, and different things happening at Mohawk College.
Let's take a look at what we've got for you. Show me what you got.
All right, shove Bob Chum, because this is going to get awesome. All right, here we go.
Well, not bad, but with all the time you've been spending with the jazz choir, I would have thought you picked up on a little something extra.
Oh yeah, well, what'd you do this week?
I went to the Language and Cultural Center.
All right, Mohawk, let's take a look.
Hello, Mohawk. On today's episode of MoCast, I'm here with Erica. And Erica, can you tell me a little bit about the recently opened Cultural and Language Center?
The Language and Culture Center, yes. Basically, we're the hub for internationalization at the college. So we try and integrate all the domestic students into this area. It's their space to use. It's not just for international students. And also to integrate our international and domestic immigrant students into the rest of the activities and events at the college. So the space, as you can see, is very, very dynamic. There's lots going on today because it's Chinese New Year, which is why we're featuring things like the Asian photographs behind us. But we're holding events here throughout the year. For example, on St. Patrick's Day, we'll be holding a breakfast. March Madness, we'll be showing all the basketball on our screens. It's a place for anybody to learn how to be a more globalized citizen and how to learn about different cultures around the world.
And can you tell me about who was involved in the opening of the center?
We haven't actually had our grand opening yet. That will be in fall, but it was a team effort. It was between the international departments, recruitment, also international services, and Jim Vanderveeken's area, which is interdisciplinary studies. So a huge collaborative effort to get this off the ground and make sure all parts of the college will utilize the space and enjoy it.
And do you think it's going to be a really nice benefit to the college, helping to bring a lot of people together?
I sure hope so. We think it will be. The students are enjoying it today. Student Appreciation Day was well attended as well. And we just want to make sure that the space is open to everybody in the college. It is in international area, however, it is for everyone in the college. We have meetings being held here by various faculty members, staff members, workshops being held here from all areas of the college. So you're welcome to come. Anybody's welcome to come anytime and use the space. It's very dynamic and movable.
Well, that's very wonderful.
So if the piano didn't give it away, we are in the midst of a choir practice with Mim. Mim, why are we here today?
We're here rehearsing the Mohawk College Jazz Choir for performances that we have coming up shortly.
Now, you have a regular performance at the Cat and the Fiddle, right?
It's not the jazz choir that has a regular performance, but students of the Mohawk College music program do perform there weekly on Wednesdays. The program has a variety of different ensembles: bluegrass ensembles, jazz ensembles, funk ensembles, Beatles, and then each group will go and do a performance throughout the school year on Wednesdays at the Cat and Fiddle. And I'm not sure if there's a cover charge. Often they ask for donations for the Good Shepherd Food Bank. So if you do go on a Wednesday, you should take some non-perishable items to donate.
Now, there's also a very big event coming up. Can you tell us a little about?
Yes, so the jazz choir, we're the class here that's working today. We are putting on a concert, which is something we do every year. This year, our concert will be at the Erskine Presbyterian Church downtown on Hamilton's Pearl Street North. And it just features all of the songs that the jazz choir has worked on this year. We also have Lita Klassen's classical choir coming in joining us as well. And there will be some small group performances featuring different soloists in the choir as well.
So we got a chance to actually hear some of them sing, and they're actually quite amazingly good. But other than that, what else gives people a reason to come see the choir? Why is it important that we have a choir here?
Well, the reason to come see the choir is, again, to just hear our friends and our family members come and perform the music that they've been working on and just enjoy an evening of nice music. For the singers in the choir, we're actually comprised of not only singers in the program, we also have guitar players and piano players, the odd horn player in our choir as well. So it's so good for all of these young musicians to sing in a choir so that they can actually apply the sounds that they're learning on a regular basis. We're all about sound, us musicians. So you can make that sound on the piano, you can make that sound on your trumpet, but if you can reproduce those sounds with your voice, that means you're really internalizing what's happening. So that's why it's so important for these singers to be in a choir like this, or like in Lida's classical choir, just to be able to participate in the sounds in a way that is, so internal. I guess I just said that twice. Well, another thing that's going on in the music program right now is all of our third-year students are about to graduate, and part of the requirement for their graduation is to put on a recital of the music they've been working on over the 3 years. So everyone in the program has to do this. We've got singers, guitar players, everyone just getting up and performing with their peers. Each concert is about 40 minutes long, and they will be happening all through the month of March.
In the Mac.
102.1 The Edge is an iconic radio station, and Kareem Mosna took a look at its very rich history.
Real radio versus a big machine.
The award is to a communicator extraordinaire. It's presented on behalf of all the major labels in the country and the independent labels that they distribute. The inscription is presented to David Marsden in recognition of 25 years of total support of the Canadian recording industry through truly innovative broadcasting.
I was at Chum FM, and after 4 years or so of free-form, playing the music I loved, I was in the building. I was on the air at 6 or something like that in the evening, and the program director, the new program director, came up and said, "Here's your playlist." And I said, "What's a playlist?" Because I didn't think I didn't know what it was, or so I wasn't ready to admit that I knew. And he said, "Well, this is the songs you're going to play tonight." And I said, "No, I play whatever I want." And he said, "Well, not anymore."
My house was right across the street from our high school, and instead of sitting in the cafeteria, everybody would come over to my place and have lunch. And they also knew that I was the guy buying all the new records, so come over at noon, we would have a listen to whatever I had bought. One day, I had the new Rush record, Permanent Ways, and we cracked it open. I left it in the shrink wrap just for this occasion, cracked it open, and put it on the stereo. I started listening to it. The first song, side one, is The Spirit of Radio. And I'm reading the liner notes, and I go all the way through it. And at the bottom, there is a note that says, "Dedicated to the spirit of radio, alive and well, living in Brampton so far." And I realized that this was about a real radio station. I remember thinking, and it was a Wednesday afternoon, I know that, I just remember it. I remember thinking, one day, I want to work at that radio station.
FM 102. The spirit of radio.
I grew up listening to it. It dressed me. It gave me my social life. I listened to the spots on the air, and I listened to the music, and those were the bands that I was going to see. Those were the clubs that I was going to. Those were the products I was going to buy. These were the people that were hanging on my wall as a teenager. I've got goosebumps just thinking about it now.
So 6 or 8 months passed, and I got a call from the people who at that time owned CFNY. And I went to their offices, which were in Yorkville, beautiful offices, smashing, beautiful. They had a grandfather clock there that must have been worth 50 grand. And I thought, well, this is ideal. And they, after some negotiation, 2 or 3 days, they hired me to go out and be an announcer doing the 7 to 11. So I went out to the little yellow house, and I walked in, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was filthy. The dirt was like this thick on the floors. Every chair only had 3 legs. It was insane. And I had just come from Chum FM, which was a very well-run organization. And I didn't know what to do about that. And I thought, I don't know, I don't really think I should stay here. And I almost turned around and walked back out again because it was so bad. I thought, this is not the place where I should be. Something said stay. I don't know what it was. Something just said stay, put up with it.
Now I hope you're feeling as good as I'm feeling tonight. Looks like it's going to be a nice Thursday evening as we spend it together here, you and I. Some of our friends, I hope you brought along some new ones. Marsden, CFNY-FM, and you.
Really, really early days in the Little Yellow House at CFNY, we were playing some, what is now considered, I guess, metal. I mean, we were the first radio station in Canada to ever play Black Sabbath or AC/DC or any of those bands. Then along came this thing called Q107, and so once they started playing that stuff, we really had to look for other things to play. And that was about the time that punk and eventually new wave were coming. That's the Pistols were coming in and all that sort of music. And then eventually, of course, along comes Joe Jackson, and then the Duran Durans and all that, and then we moved into the new wave, and the New Romantics and all that stuff.
It was very unique formatically. It was playing essentially a lot of music nobody else would touch. Some would eventually, as you know, a lot of these artists were being heard for the first time, became mainstream. But it was exciting to be at a place, or wanting to be at a place when I first got in there, that embraced music that I liked, that nobody else played. And in radio terms, there was nothing like it. There was a few back
Not in
those
Canada.
days. But yeah, it was
not
all in the
commercial.
U.S. It was maybe one station in Boston and L.A. and a few, but that was about
Maybe
it.
Chicago.
Right? Yeah.
But beyond that,
There's nothing in Canada.
No.
Nothing even close to it.
College radio maybe, but nothing
Yeah.
commercial.
At the time, we didn't think it was different. At the time, we just were doing what we really thought was right. We were doing what we thought was going to be a competitive edge, because no one else, everybody else was playing their 300 songs over and over and over and over and over. And I had a rule that no song could play twice in a 24-hour period.
We were still breaking music, which I think is a big part of CFNY's history. I mean, I was the first person to play Nine Inch Nails, and I was the first person to play Nirvana's Nevermind. You know, all of that, you know, great Manchester sound that came out of the early 90s. And I was lucky enough because I was in the evenings, and evenings was often a testing ground for new material, something that we'd walk into the record peddler that day, which was a prominent record shop at the time, and they'd say, "This just came in from London. You got to hear this." I'd grab that, I'd take it to the station, and it'd be on the air that night.
If you hire somebody to be a music director, one or two, and I had two, you trust them to know what in the world they're doing. Ivor Hamilton was one of the music directors, and Eddie Valiquette was the other. And they split it. One was domestic and one was international, and that was the split. And they discovered all this music, and they'd bring it in, and nobody had ever heard of all these bands before. Nobody had ever heard of Depeche Mode until CFNY put them up. No one had ever heard of Costello, Joe Jackson, on and on it goes.
Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm.
The instruction was we listened to everything. They would bring it in, we would listen to it in my office. I'd put the turntable and we'd listen. And we'd skip through the tracks because we never eliminated any tracks from an album. An album had to be good all the way through or it didn't go in. And then we would vote on it. The three of us would vote yay or nay.
So what we had was radio and television and movies and magazines and books. That's how people spent their time. And also back then, we didn't spend our money on gadgets. We spent our money on music, stereos and vinyl or CDs. So music occupied a different place in the public's mind.
It was all about being on a mission.
Yeah.
And we were very, very enthusiastic about the mission.
Yeah.
We weren't making...
No.
Now, I'll tell
We
you...
had club gigs.
We
That
had club...
helped.
Well,
Yeah.
and video road shows. Thank God for those.
Yeah, right.
Because that actually helped me with the rent a couple of months. But I was making. I'll tell you what happened when I came here. I was music director at a radio station in Winnipeg, and I was working 5 days a week, and making $23,000 a year, which is more money than I'd ever made in my life. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Had a nice apartment, all the rest of it. I came here to do all nights, 5 all nights every week, plus 1 Saturday morning for $17,500 a year. So again, they may have back then exploited our youthful exuberance.
Yeah, perhaps. But it was awesome.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
It would be very tough for a Spirit of Radio type radio station to exist today, given what we know about audience listening patterns, what we know about audience preferences, what we know about what advertisers want, we're part of a large public company and they need to have certain revenue targets. It's just not possible.
I don't think it'll help on traditional radio. We talk about this brand manager business. I think that radio itself, the owners, not the people below doing all the hard work, the owners, the corporations, I think they've lost sight of what it was and what it should be.
I think if we focus on something, what we should focus on is where radio is going online. Online, you can do unlimited things. You can have pictures and video with radio for the first time. You can have on-demand playlists. You can have on-demand programming. That's where things are going. So over the air is one thing where it's like you turn it on and you just let the music come at you, and you have somebody at the other end giving you companionship. If you want to get deeper into the music, if you want to get deeper into the interactivity, well, then you go online.
It's important to acknowledge one's history, whether it's about the city itself in Toronto, because we're talking about a really remarkable radio station that really didn't exist anywhere else in the world. There was K-Rock in Los Angeles, but that was about it. Alternative radio stations didn't really exist. And to have that as such a prominent part of this city's culture and history, I think needs to be recognized. And regardless of how commercial you want to take, this format, I think there needs to be an element of acknowledgement for its past and why it is the way it is now, and why it's so important to the history of Toronto and the world.
Many gay and lesbian youth struggle to find acceptance. That can get particularly difficult with religious communities as well.
Journalism student Kyle Williamson has the story.
People often ask what it's like to be a gay Christian. A Tumblr user said it perfectly. It's like wearing a Slytherin sweater to a Harry Potter convention every week. You're part of the club, but people gonna hate. The church has said some hurtful things over the years. I can't count the number of times people have told me that they love me, but they can't support my homosexual lifestyle. I've had people refuse to see me as long as I'm dating a guy. I've had family tell me that they pray God will change me, and I've had others tell me I'm bound for hell. Despite these hurtful words, many members of the LGBTQ community, myself included, refuse to choose between our sexual orientation or gender identity and our faith. I love God with my heart, my soul, my strength, and my mind, and I also happen to be in love with a man. These two can coexist, but for many, that includes a long journey towards acceptance.
I believe that growing up in a conservative church is the problem that sexuality isn't talked about. Probably in my early 20s, I came to a crossroads realizing that, okay, I'm gay, but I'm also a Christian. So does that mean I have to give up my faith in order to be gay? I've prayed for years to get rid of the gayness, as they call it, but realized that I think there was another way, that there could be both, that I could be gay and a Christian, even though I didn't know what that meant, and I actually thought I was probably the only one in the world that considered myself, quote-unquote, gay Christian. So that started my journey to realize that sexuality and Christianity do go hand in hand.
I've come to understand them almost as two often competing absolutes. So two pillars in my life that seem unmovable. And so I have to reconcile the two of them in some way. Because I'm unable to change my sexual orientation while at the same time being unwilling or unable, depending on your theology, to give up my faith in Christ.
I currently understand myself as an out gay man and a Christian, even a Pentecostal and Anglican Christian, and so that's been quite a journey. But my belief in Jesus is just as strong as it always was, and I get to add this piece of being an out gay man, whereas before I took this journey, I thought the two were absolutely contradictory and you couldn't reconcile them at all. So I'm quite happy that those two things have reconciled for me.
The stuff that I'm experiencing right now, I believe 100% that relationship is key. The church needs to have a relationship with our community. They need to get to know us. There are too many stereotypes. They need to sit down and get to know who we are so that they can form their own conclusions, so that they can ask us some of the hard questions that they struggle with. But just ignoring us or putting it to the back of their mind or saying that the Bible says so does not help anybody. It doesn't help them and it doesn't help us. So I would say number one, the church needs to do is form relationships with our community.
They accepted me, and sometimes it was even intuitive, like they didn't even know I was gay, and it was just, oh, you're here, and we're surprised because you're young, because in a lot of mainline Christian churches, the population is aging far faster than it's being replaced by younger people. And so they were so pleased to have me. And then they said, oh, you're gay. Fantastic. That's a gift. And I went, wow. Like, this was mind-blowing to me. And it helped me heal my heart in terms of, transitioning from I have a demon to this is a gift of God's good creation was a huge thing. And so that's my relationship with the church now.
As the two, what I thought were like polar opposites, and one had to be sacrificed over the other. And slowly, through various different conversations and wrestlings and long nights filled with much sobbing, they began to become more intertwined, and to see them not necessarily as mutually exclusive. There's a lot of peace. And in some ways, I feel like that was when I really, truly began to understand Christianity and understand the message of Jesus, that we are loved, accepted, brought into a family of God, regardless of who we are or where we've been.
I guess I just would like to say that you know, it's a comfort to know that we are not alone. When I realized that I wasn't alone when I started this journey, it was like the heavens had opened up, and it was an answer to prayer. It was the answer to prayer. I kept trying to quote unquote pray the gay way, but it was not what God wanted. So it's been a relief to know that there are people who are on this journey and that we aren't alone, all around the world.
Road to the Championship is a weekly series that profiles the players and coaches of Mohawk's men's varsity basketball team.
Let's take a look at who we're profiling this week.
Hello, my name is Taylor Dohanek, and I'm from Dundas, Ontario. I play center for the Mohawk Mountaineers. My journey to get to the championships has consisted over the last 5 years playing at Mohawk and being on the former national championship team, and just coming every day, working my hardest and trying to become the best team possible for Mohawk. I played point guard growing up, and it's carried over into playing at Mohawk, and for the last 5 years I've played center. Something I would tell an aspiring athlete is to do their best and work their hardest. Hardest working athletes don't always get all the glory, but they always come out on top. My name is Taylor Dohanek, and this is the Road to the Championship. Watch the Mountaineers make Mohawk history this March at the David Braley Athletic Recreation Center.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of Ignite News. I'm Elizabeth Chernachenko.
I'm Alex Smythe. Until next time, take care.
That most likely have an impact on